as the explosion rang out and shockwaves of fire and destruction erupted from the location, spreading out across the landscape in a massive ring of doomed despair and utter oblivion that seemed to consume everything around it. The shockwaves of wind and debris sweeping by Delius and Jax as they watched the battle commence. "Yup, I definitely remember that," Jax said, shielding his eyes as the wind swept by, and the red beaming light was almost unbearable to look at. "Yeah, he definitely got that from the dock." "What?" Delius replied. "You mean you've seen that before?" "Well, not the shadowy thing, but that fuck-all big sword from the sky? Yeah, I've seen that. The last time me and the doc had a bit of a tussle, he used it on me. Well, not me specifically, but an assortment of me's, which I had to replace. Which, believe it or not, despite the appearances of how many of us there are, our bodies are not exactly easy to make. The more advanced we are, the harder we are to replace. And he used that little move with the fuck-all big sword to take out a Tier 10 heavy combat shuttle. Exactly how hard is that to do? Delius replied. About as difficult as blowing up the state of Texas. What's the state of Texas? Delius replied, still confused. It's an Earth thing. You wouldn't get it. Jax said, as the explosion finally began to die down, the wind and fire rushing past finally subsiding, as they looked out at the world surrounding them and found a massive crater in its wake, all leading back to the point of impact. As they peered out past the clouds of dust and smoke, the broiling magma from melted stone and earth, to see the blade still there, protruding from a portal in the sky, as Regimen and his duplicate seemed to be looking down at the ground, stunned silent, beginning to grit their teeth as the last gusts of wind cleared the remaining smoke. And there, beneath the blade, stood the All-Force, holding the entire thing up on the tip of his finger. Well done, Reginald, the All-Force exclaimed from under the blade, standing there as if he didn't have a care in the world. I always do like to see your plans in action. Your strategic abilities are always a marvel to behold. Those spirits you summoned from the depths of hell, tormented souls forced into eternal imprisonment for so long that imprisonment becomes a part of their being, the fabric of their existence, woven into their very souls. And so, with every fiber of their remaining being, they wish only to imprison others, so that they might know the hell that they forever suffer. And so every single soul that exits from that place, attempting to imprison its target, places upon them immense force to hold them in place, so they might never move or flinch. Each soul equivalent to having a dump truck loaded onto your back. Each portal summons no less than 500 souls. More portals, more pressure. You use them to hold me in place, whilst you summoned this, the Blade of Ragnarok, a weapon forged by the god Odin to smite his fiercest of enemies, capable of rendering basically anything to nothing. So powerful that Odin himself became frightful of the weapon, sealing it away in its own private dimension, where the weapon took on a life of its own, consuming the dimension it was sealed into. And out of rage against Odin, who banished it away, it made his fears, the prophecy that he had foreseen, come to pass, and brought Ragnarok to Asgard. You truly do have a lot of toys in your arsenal, Regiment. However, the Blade of Ragnarok, as powerful as it may be, is not sufficient to destroy me, the All-Force said as it retracted its finger, just for an instant, enough to curl it back, and with a single flick on the end, the very point of the blade, shock waves of force erupted from the location, smashing upward as the blade seemed to be dashed into countless thousands of pieces, scattering through the skyline as the portal dissipated. I do so love to see your plans unfold, Reginald. I even took away my ability to foresee your strategies, as I find them captivating to watch. And despite your earlier statements about me, I often apply limitations to myself in certain situations, because I wish to see how things will unfold without the burden of knowing. It's more interesting that way, the All-Force said as it lowered its hand. But this stage in our conflict has come to its end, and it is time to move to the next, the All-Force said as it disappeared from where it stood, reappearing right next to Regimen. Seeing its glowing lights appear right next to him, began to attempt to move away, fruitlessly, as the All-Force struck so quickly that he had no chance to do so, with another shockwave of force, sending Regimen flying down towards the ground, a trail of smoke in his wake, before impacting and shattering out stone and earth around him. Massive amounts of dust kicked up from the impact, as Regimen's doppelganger rushed towards the All-Force swinging the golden sword, only to once again have it batted away, and with another rapid strike to the midsection of the doppelganger, a burst of force blew its way through him, scattering the majority of the doppelganger's form, leaving what remained a twisted mess of contorting red energy that dissipated itself into a single flare, flying back down towards the ground, heading for the site of Reginald's impact, and bolting into the cloud of destruction, with a small flash of red, as the All-Force quickly flew down, finding his way to the ground, once again almost right back to where he started to begin with, looking over at the crater he had left Reginald in, as crawling out of the crater came Reginald, his black suit no longer perfectly sheened, unscuffed and undamaged, now a large segment blown away, revealing the midsection of his body, what looked like broken ribs, large segments of bruising, as he stumbled out of the crater, beginning to cough up blood. He exclaimed, "What the hell? Why am I not?" "Why are you not healing? Isn't that what you were going to ask?" the All-Force replied. "The answer is simple, Reginald. Normally, you don't have to worry about regenerating from injuries. Your connection to the massive amounts of magical energy and life force and countless other things that you and your predecessor have bartered away from others over time allows you to instantly regenerate from any injury, regardless of severity. However, you are no longer connected to that force. It has been separated, and you cannot access it." "Why, you? I thought this was supposed to be a fight, and you place these limitations on me?" "It is only fair, Reginald. Remember, I did not allow Jax to summon up any of his other alternate selves, nor the armadas he wields, the weapons of untold power at his disposal. All of them remained beyond his reach, only having access to himself and his own capabilities in this one single form. It would be quite unfair for me to deny him access to all that he has gained, and then allow you full access to all the power that you have gained. Our conflict is limited to what you and you alone are capable of. Any powers and abilities that you have stored away have been segmented, no different from Jack's alternate states, armadas and war weapons. Regimen grit his teeth for a moment as he stared at the all-force furiously, raising his hand and snapping his fingers, as fiery red energy seemed to cover the heavily damaged segment of his body for a few moments, as he seemed to start breathing a little bit easier. And as the fire dissipated, Reginald's suit was back to normal, and he stood back up to full height once more.